Welcome, everyone, to the first session of this year's Leadership Forum and Awards Celebration Forums, and we're so excited you can be here. I'm Dawn Hooper. I am the CFO at Texas Women's Foundation, and I couldn't be more excited to be introducing some of these wonderful ladies that will be speaking for us. Before we get started with those introductions, I just want to welcome all those that are online and watching. It's great that we can do a dual presentation this year. And we encourage you to be on your chat on the bottom right of your screen and engage with each other. We're going to do our best to get to questions that will include both online and in the room, so keep that in mind too. So some of you may have been torn, which session do I pick? Because they're all going to be fabulous. So know that we are recording every single one of them, and you will have access to them for the next 7 days using your registration code, and as well as the keynote. You'll be able to watch that again. So don't worry, we've got you. So let's get started with these wonderful ladies. I'm going to read their bios because they are rather deep and very impressive. So let's start with Dr. Sharareh Kermanshachi. Dr. Kermanshachi is Associate Professor in the Department of Civil Engineering and Director of the Resilient Infrastructure and Sustainable Environment Lab at the University of Texas in Arlington. She received her PhD in Civil Engineering at Texas A&M. She also holds a master's degree in Civil Engineering, a master's degree in Business Administration, and a bachelor's in Architectural Engineering. Dr. Kermanshachi has published more than 200 books, scholarly articles, conference proceedings, and research reports, and has conducted several national and state-level research projects. Dr. Kermanshachi has received several prestigious national and regional awards, including the 2020 Women in Technology, 2020 Rosa Parks Leadership Diversity Award, and she also serves on the board as a board member of the CMAA North Texas and editorial board member of 3 journals. So I'm looking forward to hearing more about how she found herself to civil engineering. Rachel, who will be moderating the discussion, is a Texas Women's Foundation board member and Economic Leadership Council member. Rachel Benson serves as Global Chief Operating Officer for Capital Markets, leading the operations of CBRE's global capital market business, comprised of property sales, debt and structured finance, and capital advisors, the firm's investment banking division. She supports the capital markets leadership team and platform in the execution of strategic initiatives while driving best practices and ensuring alignment and efficiencies across CBRE's Americas, Asia Pacific, and Europe and Middle East and Africa regions. I also get to work with Rachel because she also chairs my investment advisory committee, and I'm thrilled that she's going to be talking to Sherry today. Take it away.
Here, and thank you to all of you and to those online for being here as well. I'm super excited to have this conversation. I mean, compared to your background, all I do is work. It's amazing.
It's the same I do.
So I also want to say thank you to my company, CBRE, for sponsoring this event and this conversation. For those of you who may not know, CBRE is the globe's largest commercial real estate services firm. And you know, I think about diversity and real estate, and we're going to talk about engineering and construction and the impact that we have on the communities that we live in and work in. And you know, with great success comes great responsibility, right? And at CBRE, I think we take that very seriously, and especially now more than ever. The topics of diversity and inclusion are so important. We're coming out of COVID. We're coming out of this place where we've been starved for human interaction. We all hate Zoom. No offense to those who are watching on Zoom, but it's so nice to feel feel the energy of being in person. And one of the things that we are striving to do, and I was talking with somebody about this today, is creating that sense of belonging and making sure that not only do we have diversity and inclusion, sometimes those turn into buzzwords, but what we have to accomplish, what we are accomplishing, is creating that sense of safety and knowing that your voice is heard, knowing that your time carries equal currency. And one of the phrases that I've heard very frequently in the last couple of weeks is rising tides raises all boats. And at the Texas Women's Foundation, we call that the ripple effect. So I'd like to start with hearing how your ripple effect started, Sherry. Let's start by how your career started off, and you've accomplished so many things in what seems like an incredibly short period of time. So tell us about how your journey started.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you for the introduction and all of you for being here. It's a great honor to be here. So to start, it was a very, very long story, but I make it short that how I started becoming a civil engineering. When I was a kid, I was really into buildings and construction. I was playing with Legos, and somebody I remember said there are two things in this world that remain for a very long time. The first thing is movies, and the second one is the structures, buildings, infrastructures, which I was not into the movies, so I chose the second option. I went and studied architectural engineering, and I was working while I was studying, and during the last year of my education, I got a job as engineer in a company. It was an internship position. And it was interesting because I designed some prefabricated walls and ceilings, and I was supposed to work in office, And I was working in Middle East, and the culture was mostly women work in office. If they are in civil and construction, men go to the site. And I was working for a subcontractor company, and then the contractor asked the engineer should come to the office, to the field, and explain the designs. And it was a governmental project in the Middle East. And the problem was they were not allowing a female to enter the site, even to talk for 30 minutes with the contractor. And my company tried for 1 full month to get permission that I enter that site to talk with the contractor. And it was a very interesting and painful experience at the same time. And when I got there, I explained we got the authorization in 30 minutes to go with the designs and start the construction for the part that we are responsible. But on one condition, that I have to be on site. So I started my career as one female and around 500 male on the construction site. And I was the only one that was allowed to go there. Even reporters were not allowed as female to go there. So while it was interesting, because I was at the age of 22, I became project manager, but I always tell everybody it was just my title. I didn't have experience. So I was supposed to become project manager, and I was going and tell males what to do because I designed it. I knew how they have to cut everything. They were not listening to me. And I had to take somebody who had no education, tell him in front of them that, okay, tell them to cut it this way. And they were accepting when he was repeating my same thing that I was saying. They were listening, but they were not listening to me. Because they thought if a man says something, then he takes the responsibility. But if all put it there, why I'm seen differently. That's where I are in minority in engineering, especially in civil and construction. That's what I really don't like it. So I have, right now this semester, I have a class of 96 students, and there are only 3 of them are female students. And I have very sharp female students, but they are scared to express themselves, to answer questions. And what I understood is there is nothing wrong with men. It's just the culture. We make ourselves worried. We sometimes overthink. We judge ourselves why they are not doing that. So what I do, I always encourage them. I said there is no right or wrong answer when you are in the class. What is important is to participate, to express yourself. And that's what I see, that throughout the time it changes and they express their opinion and they become happier. They feel that they are included, part of the class, and we are not losing them. Because throughout semester I've seen that we lose female students. When male students, they make mistake, they feel it's a mistake. When women make mistake, they associate it with themselves. Some they think that maybe I was not smart enough, maybe I should have not thought about that, maybe I should have not said that. And this is coming from experience. I'm not saying others. I have been in that place, and still I'm the same place. There are some meetings in universities, sometimes I judge myself, and I think we all make mistakes. If you don't make mistake, it means you have not tried even. So that's part of it. If you have a failure, it means that you're one step closer to the success. So that's how I started my career, and I went through education and did the PhD and became professor. Right now, I'm teacher. I teach in the class and do research, and I also am a director. I have multiple postdocs and PhD students, and I work with state and federal agencies. So it's great that I participate in different parts, and I can work with different people, and it's a very interesting experience. So it's a time for me to give back to the society, to the community. So many people helped me, supported me for where I'm standing, and I'm happy to support new generation. And I'm sure that all women and all men are doing the same thing. After some age, we think how to give back to the society.
That's fantastic.
Sure.
That's fantastic. I love your comment about how if you haven't failed, maybe you're not pushing yourself out and achieving everything that you can achieve. And your comment about how women and men interpret things differently is fascinating. And I also like how you said you understood why that your voice wasn't carrying the same weight as the man's voice. I think that's a great lesson because many times, I mean, ladies, we've never experienced that, right? And how often do we just get frustrated about it? But understanding, taking the time to say, okay, what is it about, why is this happening? And if we can understand why, then you can address why.
Exactly. Sometimes we are our own enemy. That's the worst thing I would say. Sometimes we think that maybe I should not raise my hand and volunteer because I have other responsibilities at home with my kids, with my husband or partner. But it doesn't matter. You have to be volunteer. You have to be willing to participate so the others give you the chance to do it. It's nothing wrong. If you don't ask, you will not get it. That's what my boss told me. If you don't ask, you think that people don't imagine or assume that others should know what you want, because we are raised in a way to ask less than men. Men are usually by nature are more, I'm not saying aggressive, but they can express themselves more. Okay, it's something that we have to address within ourselves and within our organizations, that we all feel comfortable. I always say there is no difference between men and women as long as there's hard work behind it. That's what it matters to me.
That's fantastic. As a manager, I remember having to learn the difference in giving feedback, because you can, let's say you're doing a performance review, give a feedback to your male employee, and it's, you've got 5 things, you nailed these 3, you need to work on these 2. He's gonna walk out of that room and say, man, I nailed it, doing awesome. Give the same feedback, have a review to your female employee, and you've got these 4 things, you're doing amazing, just need to see some improvement on this one. And she's gonna walk out and be like, oh my God, I might get fired. I'm doing terrible. And so it is very different. So talk to me a little bit about that emotional intelligence, and how did you learn throughout your career to change the channel?
So one thing I learned is nothing is personal at work. And that was the hardest thing that I learned, but the most rewarding thing. Nothing would be associated to me. So if I hear no from my colleagues, my boss, it's not saying no to me. It's not rejection to me. It's a circumstance that they had to select somebody else over me. So nothing is personal. I have to learn to work with others, and I have to understand others. So one thing is, I'm in a very unique position because I'm both employee and employer. So I have my own boss, but I have several people who work for me. And I learned to understand both positions. You should have flexibility as employer, but at the same time have boundaries for people. Some people might want to take advantage, to understand and also see the strengths of different people. And then as an employee, you should understand that your employer should help everybody, support everybody. So if you hear no, it's not no to you. It's helping somebody else, or in that situation, it was better for the organization. So if you hear no for 5 times, 10 times, don't say, I should not ask anymore. It's okay, ask for the 11th time, okay? We have to work hard and get what we deserve it. So as long as nothing is personal at our work, I think we all can be successful. One thing I always say, I have a very long CV, I work a lot, but my CV of my failures, it's much longer than what you see, okay? And that's something people don't see. They think that I get or whoever gets something, they get it easily. It's not that way. So many things I've applied, projects or other things, I did not get it. So many papers, books were not published. We had to revise them. So you need to put lots of efforts and never be discouraged. Okay, we women tend to be more emotional sometimes, and discourage easier. That's what I'm saying. Doesn't matter how many times you try. Just try. What is your passion? Just try for it, and you will get it.
I love your comment that your list of failures is longer than your successes.
Definitely. And I'm proud of that. I mean, we all should be proud of that. If you have a failure, it means that you tried. If you have not failed, it means that you haven't tried it. So somebody who says, I never failed, shouldn't be that proud.
Mm-hmm. And I also think, too, how many times have you heard, well, you've gotten to this place, it must be easy, and it's not. It's not easy.
Not at all. I can't tell you how many nights I slept in my office, but it's better not go there.
So none of us get to where we are solely by ourselves, right? So tell us about someone in your career, in your life that was instrumental in not just being a mentor, but being a sponsor in advancing your career.
Oh, that's a very great and difficult question. There's so many people helped me and supported me, and I think it's unfair if I just name one person, but I can say we all have been supported by our parents, and then through the education, the teachers, our colleagues, and everybody supported us for where we are standing. And where I am is the product of many people supporting me, my advisor, previous advisors, and my colleagues, my professors, my students. I'm nobody without their support, and I teach in the class I have. And one thing is I learn from students to, believe it or not, people think that teachers just teach, but it's not that way. I learn a different thing from students every day. So I cannot name one person, but everybody throughout my journey supported me one way or another, and in a positive or negative way. Even if it was negative, I learned. If I heard no somewhere, I learned from that. So I'm thankful to the whole process where I'm standing now. But if I want to call somebody most, I remember my advisor, second master's advisor, who believed in me and allowed me to defend my thesis in less than a month. So I was coming to United States and meet the deadlines. He had a great impact on me. But again, so many people supported me, and I'm thankful to all of them.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic.
Sure.
So the theme of this forum is called You Connect. Can you talk to us a little bit about how important it is to connect generations as you're educating people and then also working in the field?
Sure. So I'm not that old, but generations are changing. Believe it or not, every year that I go to class, students change, and how they use, social media, even for their education, and everything is different. How they see the world, how they study, how they learn, it's different. And we need to update us. And one thing is we need to learn to be connected with them if we want to work with them. So if I work with PhD students right now, it's very different compared to 5 years ago, compared to 10 years ago, my postdoc. So it's very important to understand how they learn, what is their needs, and what is their strengths. And we don't try to manufacture people. We should try to understand people. Not everybody learns through the same process. Not everybody has the same strengths. What is important is to learn to benefit from everybody's strengths and have a great team, not changing people, and connect everybody. So when I have a team, somebody might be better in technical aspects, somebody might be better in the communication aspect, and make sure everybody feels included. Nobody is better than the other ones, but we will be successful as a team. One of the projects that I have right now is deployment of autonomous vehicle in the city of Arlington, downtown. It was the first time ever that we integrated on-demand autonomous vehicles into transit services, which was very successful deployment. And we had it for 1 year, and it's a big team that I'm working with them. And one thing, the reason was successful is we try to understand the strengths of people and benefit that. Somebody who is good at technical, if I put them in charge of communication things, of course we will all fail. the goal is to be successful, all of us, and I try to understand that how people feel connected together. Nobody is excluded, nobody is better or worse. Everybody can contribute based on the capacity as long as they want to do it and it's hardworking. And there is no place if somebody doesn't want to work and take advantage, but they have different capabilities, and I try to understand that.
I love that, and I think that's been a shift over the last, 10, 15 years. I feel like the conversation at, with your managers or at performance review was focusing on what you need to improve upon. And now the focus of the conversation is much more around how do we leverage your strengths and how do we identify, because collectively as a team, we're so much more powerful together. So one of the things that I had the pleasure of meeting Carla Harris, who works for Morgan Stanley, and she was talking about leadership, and one of the subjects that she brought up was diversity, and she was rolling out this new product line. This was many years ago, and she told the story about how she built out her team, and it was diverse, different backgrounds, and she looked at it and it was all women. And she said, I realized I was so focused on promoting women and diversity that I went too far. And anytime your whole team looks the same, you have homogenous thinking. And she said, at that point, I knew this was going to be a failure because there weren't enough variety of opinions in the room. And I thought that was it was something that I wrote down and always have to remember because I think, especially as we're building things, the whole point is to deliver what the consumer is looking for, and the consumer is not all female, the consumer is not all male, and so if we want to actually progress and meet the need of our constituent, whoever that might be, right? We need to have a team that represents the constituent on the other side.
True, that's true. And one thing I want to add, that diversity is not a fancy new word that is coming into the picture to help employees. It helps employers. I have over a dozen papers, research papers that I published that shows that if you have a diverse team, people look at it differently at a problem, and then the outcome would have benefit for the employer too. So it's very helpful to have a diverse team from different ages, different races, different genders, different orientations. If we have it, it will be helpful to have an optimized output at the end of the day.
It's so critical.
Right,
different points of view.
Yeah. It is.
So one of the things you mentioned was your students, and obviously, what was it, 96-3? Not a great ratio.
Right.
So talk to us about how you go about creating that sense of belonging and that culture for them to feel safe, and how can that, it's one thing in the classroom, but how do you translate that into real world on a construction site?
Sure, definitely. So I see this in different levels. It's the students, of course, and then I see in the faculties. We don't have so many women in engineering. We have few female in engineering as a faculty in the construction side. So the first thing is education. And we need to start educating from the younger ages that they have. I spend a lot of time with K-12 students and with the girls, and I ask them, what do you know about construction? And they think about it as something very aggressive and heavy and scary, so they don't want to approach them. And I teach them that there are so many flexible positions in the office that you can take it, and when I explain to them, they understand it. Not necessarily they have to select it, but if you have the knowledge and then you make a decision to go or not to go, that's different than later on to go back and ask yourself why you haven't done it. So I think knowledge is very important, that we give it to the younger generation. But the other ones, the ones who already made the decision to enter into the industry, we have to make sure that they feel that they are part of the team. And also flexibility is an important part. that we provide, because I have students, some of them are single moms. And I understand they have responsibilities. I admire them that they work full-time, some of them. They have kids at home, and maybe they are coming from low-income backgrounds. So I should understand that maybe I should be a little flexible while be fair to others. Okay, I have to make the decision. Sometimes it's not easy, but I have to understand and not discouraging people. If you are hard and not understanding situation, a small decision might discourage them and leave the education. I admire anybody who goes for education even at 40s, 50s, 60s, doesn't matter. As long as you have a passion, you should go and pursue that one. So understanding and make flexible for others, and also for female students, I encourage them to ask questions, and even if they provide incorrect answer, even to the male students, I don't judge them. I always say, thank you for your participation. So they're encouraged to answer next time, and then they start thinking critically. And that's what we have to do with the younger employees, so because they are scared to judge themselves, and you know, if they feel that they made a mistake once, twice, the third time they don't express themselves. So I think it's our responsibility when we get senior to help the younger ones to feel better, to express themselves and ask their questions or express their opinions.
That's great advice. I know we're talking about students in a classroom, but I know for me personally, I feel like that's 100% applicable to the office as well, especially when we think about this new generation coming in. Exactly. And how important that sense of belonging and safety is for them to open up.
Exactly, and we have it with the young female faculty. It's a very demanding job as a tenure track, because you have 5 years that to do research and then get your tenure. Otherwise, you have to change your job, of course. And it's a years that people have kids, and you have, you know, infants or, you know, young kids, and they have to manage it and have a balanced time. So it's very important that we as seniors share our experiences and let them know that, okay, if it's hard, it's hard for everybody, but you can do it. Don't get discouraged. You are not alone there. I've been there, and you can overcome and be successful too.
I love that. So let's talk a little bit about leadership and leadership skills. I'm sure you know, we have a room full of professionals in here. What piece of advice would you give to our audience that they can take back to their communities, to their homes, to their office? Is there a single leadership trait that you think is the most important to continually hone?
I think there are several important things. We are dealing with humans. There are different flexibility, and understanding is very important. Building great teams that everybody feels that they are part of team, nobody feels that they are excluded. Friendly environment, at the same time goal-oriented process. So not being easy, everybody works hard, but in a family type environment. So I would suggest that if we can provide that environment for everybody, that would be very helpful to both employers and employee. Having the culture of win-win, that's what I always love it. I hate win-lose, because although it's my win, but if somebody else's lose, it's going to be my lose next round. I'm working with people. It should be win-win all the time, and I try to look at the situation, how is it win-win? So if I'm writing a paper with a student, it's my win that I publish a paper, it's also their win, because they can use it to get a job as a faculty in future, for example. If I'm teaching in the class, how can I make a win-win situation? Okay, I define new projects for a student, they go do research, but they come to class and present, and maybe I learn something from them, right? So every scenario, I believe, in any industry that we are, we can change it to a win-win situation. It really matters how we think about every problem. A problem can turn out to be an opportunity. It just matters how we look at it, how we think about it.
That's the lesson for the day, I think. Any problem can definitely be an opportunity.
Exactly.
Perspective. And I remember somebody said to me once that reality is subjective. And I thought, well, that doesn't make any sense. And then I thought about it, and I thought, wow, it is 100% subjective, how we choose to define a reality. And I think it goes back to what you're saying, too, about that emotional intelligence of having the self-awareness to recognize the channel that you're allowing to play in your head, and then also recognize the lens that you interpret others through from, right?
Right, right. That's
Very
true.
good.
That's true.
So what advice would you give to another woman who's looking to pursue a career in engineering?
Never discourage. Go for your passion. Never hear to those that they think or say that you are female, you cannot do math. Some of us can do better. I mean, no comparison, okay? If you have a passion for something, your age, your gender, nothing identify you, okay? Your hardworking identify you and determines who you are, and it's not that scary. STEM fields, engineering, it's not scary. It's very rewarding if you like it. And don't be scared when you see the calculus courses or if the class is full of males. Just try to be friends with them, do your homework with them, turn projects with them, you know, or even if you are in a company, try to communicate with your male colleagues. I don't feel that we make the environment scary ourselves sometimes. They want for us to feel that we are part of the team. They don't know how to approach us. We don't know how to approach them. Just think about it that he is similar to my female, you know, colleague. You can approach them and start talking about anything that you want, and you know, be friends in the work environment, and then you can pursue, you know, your career, whatever is your passion. Just don't be scared, don't be discouraged. If you fail a course, don't associate it with your smartness, your IQ, or anything. We've been all there in our life.
I love that. Doesn't it hurt your soul when you hear someone say, especially when it's a woman, I can't do math? It's like, oh, everyone in this room can do math. Don't ever say you can't do math.
I heard that a lot, but I see people as people. I don't look at their gender, you know. I mean, it's similar to some people say men cannot do nursing jobs. That's also hurtful to me. You cannot judge people because of their gender. It's just passion. Whatever you have passion, you will be the best in it.
100% agree. That's fantastic. Okay, so look at that. We're right on time. Final question. Sherry, tell us what it means to you to be a recipient of the Young Leader Award.
Oh, that's a great honor, and I'm very happy to be here and share my experience with all of you and receive this very prestigious award. And I also told the foundation that it's the time for me to give back. So anyhow that I can support women and our society, I would be very happy. I've done a lot of research about wage inequality, and that's what I'm standing for. And I've seen that unfortunately there are some places that wage is not equal, although some women put much more efforts than men. So we need to all fight for that one, and that's what I'm standing for. And I'm very happy to support any women in any area. If I can give advice, if I can be any helpful in the area DFW, I would be very happy to do that. Any younger generation, if there are any kids that I can go to their schools and, you know, explain what the engineering is so they can make better decisions, not necessarily, you know, ask everybody to pursue engineer, just have the knowledge, I would be very happy. So it's a great honor to receive this award, and I would be very happy to pay back to the society and support all of the women in anyhow that I can.
That's fantastic. You are a trailblazer, that is for sure.
Thank you very much.
The work that you're doing, representation, I think, is a big thing, especially for the younger generation, and not seeing yourself represented in the role or the position or the title or the field that you want to go in has a big impact on people. And so you are setting the example for many young girls.
Thank you very much. And just one last thing, I remember when I became faculty in our department, there was only one female faculty and around 30 male faculty. So, and I'm very thankful to the senior faculty. She was always checking on me, and so I was not feeling isolated. I remember in our first meeting, our department chair asked a question, and I was scared to even answer because all the room was full of men, and I was very young. I didn't know how to approach. Right now, we have 10 female faculties, so, and the environment has changed, and I understood that everybody wanted to help me. It was just me who was not feeling comfortable or easy at that time. I learned to change it within myself and see everybody as colleague and friends, not male and female, and that's how I do. I work every day. I work with cities, a lot of cities, with the state, TechStart I work, and I don't see the gender of people anymore. I just see colleagues and then focus on work, and I'm sure that the other side is also the same. They don't look at me as a woman, they look at me as a colleague and what I know, and they recognize me for my knowledge, not for my gender.
That's fantastic. You may be the first, but you will not be the last.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Very good. Well, Dawn, I think we want to have some Q&A now.
Thank you, ladies. Let's give them a hand. I mean, there's so much wisdom right there. And don't all of you wish you had had somebody like Dr. Kermanshachi as your professors? I mean, what a difference it would have made for all of us. We do want to do some Q&A. We do ask that you raise your hand or go to that microphone so that we can capture it in a microphone. So the floor is open.
So I'll ask a question to start off while the audience thinks of a question to ask. I'm not sure when you have spare time, but what do you do for fun?
Oh, that's not a good question. But for my spare time, I do sports. And when I started my job, I was working very hard. So one other thing that I want to share with you all women, I thought that, okay, after I get this project, after I publish this paper, I'll start looking at myself better, taking care of myself better. And then after that, and I learned that it's never ending. You have to start taking care of yourself before your career is always there. You should find a balance. And one thing that I'm proud is I learned to have balance in my life, you know, between the career and work that you do and having time for yourself. If you have kids, they are very important, but you are also important. So have some time for yourself. I do lots of hiking when I'm not working. That's my passion. But I was not doing that before. So it causes some problems on my health, and then I learned that it's very important that you take care of yourself and then have your hobby and then spend enough time for your work. So that's what I do.
Fantastic answer.
Thank you.
Other questions? Don't be shy. We have 5 or 6 minutes.
Can I ask questions?
Sure.
From them? Has anybody graduated from UTA here? Oh, cool. Which major?
There's one over there.
Oh, that's fantastic. Business. Oh, cool. I have MBA degree, so that's cool, but not from UTA.
My daughter's graduating.
From UTA? Oh, what major?
It's, economics and political science.
Oh, that's cool. That's great. Awesome. Okay.
Here's a question over here.
Oh, great. Congratulations to her.
Hi, my name is Jennifer Vilbig Lawson. I'm a civil engineer. My brother did go to UTA for civil engineering,
Oh,
so
cool.
I didn't. I went to Georgia Tech, so a little bit farther away. We are trying to hire civil engineering students, looking at targeting UTA. I guess what, in your opinion, are students really looking for in a career?
Very great question. We are always in between of students and employers. Both of them approach us. Students sometimes cry that we cannot find a job, what will happen to us after we graduate. And employers, believe it or not, they beg that how we can hire from you. So one thing that is important to connect these two together. So one of the things that we have done recently is if you send us your post, your advertisement, we will share it between our students. We have 1,700 civil engineering students, and we are becoming the biggest civil engineering department within the state of Texas, believe it or not, with UT Austin and Texas A&M. So we had a major growth. It was 10 years ago that we were around 500 students. Right now, we are getting close to 2,000 next semester. So one thing that the students are looking for, they are scared because their resume doesn't have much. And they spend lots of time playing with their one-page resume, and they show it to me. Is it better to put it here or there because they think it makes difference, which sometimes it makes difference. But one thing is, I think, as employer, if you see somebody is hardworking and willing to learn, that's very important. And that's what you can understand based on the interviews rather than, you know, one-page CV. For students, when they start, all of them, they are looking for internship and a position to pursue, you know, and advance in future. So I think that connecting these two different civil engineering departments would be very helpful. And I would personally be happy if you're hiring, send us any ads, I'll share it with the students. And you know, I get happiness when I see students are happy. I remember one of my research students came to my office, he cried. He was doing his last semester and he said, all my friends are getting job and nobody wants me. I said, your time will come, don't worry. And when he graduated, he got 4 positions. And I told him, see, and it's a repetitive cycle. I see it every semester. They think that it happens for others, but not me. But one thing is just, if you see hard work, that's how I hire people in my lab. If somebody is hardworking and willing to learn, that's enough. And the students, they want a position that has a path to advance in future. Sure.
Excuse me. My name is Kristen McLaughlin. I have 2 small daughters, 8 and 5, and I'm wondering what your parents did to help foster your interests in civil engineering and really lead you down that path.
Thank you for your question. To be honest, my father, he is electrical engineer. My brother is also electrical engineer. So they tried to deceive me to study electrical engineering. But I told them I cannot study something that I cannot see. You know, we cannot see electricity. So I did not go through that path. But what I would say that my father was very supportive of engineering, and he was always helping me with math questions. And I personally liked it, so it was, you know, two-sided. One thing I always tell parents is do not try to force anything if they don't like it, but if they like it, support them. Take to the university, you know, extracurricular activities that they have. They see the university environment, they would like it. We have so many of these activities on Saturdays, you know, and try to make them familiar with engineering. They will be interested themselves. If they have the knowledge, right knowledge, then they know what to choose when they go to university. One thing we see a lot is kids change major when they go to college. They don't know what they want. And it's a waste of, you know, time and also money for the parents at the same time. One thing I think is if the knowledge is there, if we try to teach them in high school or even before that, what is each major, and they learn about it more, then they can have a better decision when they enter college. So if you see that they have a passion for engineering, just support them. You know, there are several applications which are friendly based on their ages that they can play with them and be more interested in the engineering areas. Just support with any, you know, games or playing, and then later on into more advanced things that they can pursue engineering.
So I think we have time for one more if someone else has a question. Okay.
I'll ask a question if we
Go
have
for
some
it,
time.
Rachel.
You have amazing accomplishments.
Thank you.
What is the one accomplishment you're most proud of to date?
One thing that I'm very happy about it, I learned to work with different people. And it's very rewarding. Sometimes we are exposed to people who are difficult, and it's not easy to work with them.
We call those learning opportunities.
Yes, and I had those cases in teams that, you know, we have to work with them, and nothing makes them happy. But at the end of the day, I try to minimize the drama and come out of it with a successful outcome. So trying to work with everybody, it's a very important and rewarding thing that I learned throughout my career. And I changed a lot. So I had a very, very shy personality. And when I became a professor, first day in the class, I told myself, oh my God, what job did I choose? I have to talk in front of people every day. That was the worst nightmare, you know, when you go and you have to talk in front of many people. But now it's my job. I learned to change it. And one thing is, if you want to change yourself, you can do it. You have to just work on yourself one step at a time. Don't compare yourself with others. Just compare yourself with your own yesterday. And that's what I'm doing, and I'm very happy about it.
That's
fantastic.
It is. It's fabulous to hear, and I just think of those classrooms and how much of a blessing you are to each of your students, that you have this thought process about looking to what is best for each one of them instead of trying to feed them the same thing.
Sure.
And hope they eat the same thing. So thank you, Rachel. Thank you for moderating this, and thank you, Dr. Kermanshachi. The next forum starts at 5 o'clock. You've got about 15 minutes to roam around, check out the inspiration wall, and leave some comments about what you heard in here that was wonderful. There are some snacks around in the hallways and drinks as well. And we appreciate you being here and hope you'll be as inspired in the next session.
Thank you all.